Okay, this is a quick wing it demo, fly by the seat of my pants for Christina's song Before It Gets Me. I'm gonna walk through a few of these signal chains here to start out. So what I did is I set up 4 different vocal signal processing chain, it's 5 different signal chains right here, and was just going to take a quick walk through how I did some of this stuff. Anyway, the first one is this. It is a Trident A range modeled off of something into a C6, into a TubeTech CL1B, into an RVox, and then an, what is this, a Millennia EQ, just to give it a little bit of air. That's pretty much all that thing's doing. And it's cutting a little bit more 250 at the end. So what I'm going to do is bypass these things right here, plugins, and then I'm going to turn these off and then enable them again one at a time. So starting at the very top, here's with the vocal soloed. What's going on here is this Trident is really just, it's adding a little bit of 3K, but it's mainly there for saturation. The next one down the list here is the C6, and this is actually what's doing most of the heavy lifting. The way this thing works is, let me get some vocals here. There we go. I usually just start using this with picking one band here, and when I solo this band, here, let me go to a part where there's a constant vocal. Here we go. Okay. Now we have this on a loop. What I do is I solo this band and then just kind of slide this thing around and listen for a frequency that I want to get more control of. So what I would do here is start here and just start sliding it to right about here, to where I have the frequency contained inside of this thing right here that I want to control. And then the key to this working is getting these attack. I hope we can see this here. I'll zoom in. Key to making this work here is getting this attack and the release time, so so you don't really hear what it's doing. You just kind of feel the effect of it. And then once you're happy with how this is set, I go over here. I went to this TubeTech plugin right here. That's main job is to compress but add air at the same time. So this, for some reason, just you don't even have to hit it that hard, but it just kind of adds a nice lush top, high end. And I'm okay with this going up into the 710 dB gain reduction if as long as it stays transparent. You never hear the thing squashing and smashing the vocal. Next I have this RVox. This is the easiest plugin to use in the world. You just grab this thing and pull it down until it sounds good. And then last but not least, we have this Millennia that, as you can see right here, is just adding a little bit of air. So when I unsolo this, then we get this first vocal chain. And then what I have going on here with the other effects, this was more just for demonstration purposes anyway, but I have a room reverb right here, then the Abbey Road plates right here. Come on, why this phone needs to focus. There's my Bricasti right here, Waves H-Delete, a doubler, and then a Fab Filter, what is that thing? Saturn for extra, for multiband drive. I'll go through that here. There's the Phoenix Verb. This is, let me mute the guitar. Okay, so this is the room reverb. I'm going to pull this up and then pull it back. Okay, just blended that in a little bit. Here's the plate. Here's the Abbey Road plates. So I parked that right about here, and then I have the Bricasti. And then part of the key, I think, to getting a track like this to work is I'll show you right here. Okay, so I took the BPM of the song, and then it really comes out, the tempo is 112. When you take that and convert your BPM to milliseconds, you end up with about 1,000 milliseconds, or give or take. The fastest this plate can go is 1,000 milliseconds right here, and then I think it's 8 seconds up here, and then right around here would be halfway between. It pretty much goes, your damper. This thing can't go shorter than 1 second. So what I have is 1 second would be about a half note at 112 beats a minute. And then what I did is I set this Bricasti right here to 2 seconds. So this Abbey Road plate right here is timed to half note. This Seventh Heaven reverb is timed to quarter note, and the room is just, this Phoenix verb, which is the room verb, is just kind of set to whatever. And then what I had here is the H delay, and you can hear a little bit of it. See, when I hit stop there, you hear the tail. And then what I did to, I've been doing this little trick I learned from Warren Hewart here. I take this H delay, put it in ping pong mode, and then there's a lo-fi button right here that if you don't want to have to manage the sibilance or any kind of harsh high frequencies from this thing, just kick this lo-fi on and then use this low pass here as you need it. But anyway, what's going on with this H delay is when it hits the delay, it's sending the delay timed to a quarter note back into this Abbey Road plate reverb here that's timed to a half note. So just a little trick that I thought sounded kind of fun with this particular song. And then beyond there, the doubler is just a simple micro shifter. If I'm running on a bus, so on buses I always turn the mix to 100% wet. And then this little patchwork thing, because of Pro Tools bug, is holding the FabFilter Saturn, which is where we're getting all the drive from. I left it on its warm tape saturation and then just roll it up on the vocal right here till you hear something you like. And then I think I found a sweet spot for it somewhere like right around here. Anyway, and beyond there, so this here is the next vocal chain that I thought sounded kind of neat with this song. C6 first in the chain here, and I have a Manley Vox box right here doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So what is going on here, if I can zoom in, is I just engaged the filter on this thing. It seemed to get the job done. Why is this phone not cooperating? Okay. So what's going on right there is I engage the filter on this thing. The switch to the preamp to get a little bit more drive. Medium attack, fast release on the compressor, and this is a fixed 3-to-1. And then when you take this thing and flip it over here, you can use the meter, the VU meter on this plugin, to tune this de-esser. And then beyond there, I simply engage the EQ. Then I use this thing to add 12K, and then use this mid dip right here to take out a little bit of 300. And then from there, send it into this Varimu. And that's pretty much it for this signal chain. The next one, okay, this last one, which you probably can't hear a whole lot of over the phone, is this C6 again at the front of the chain, going into an SSL, and this is actually doing a lot more than you would think it'd be just another normal channel strip, but it's not, because as soon as you engage this flip button right here, you get some real colorful and aggressive saturation, which is great for some things and terrible for others, but more, you can usually make it work if you find a sweet spot on this mic preamp button that hits it just right. And then again, I'm using my filters on here, and then added a little bit of 8K for top, added a little bit of 3K for clarity, and that's about it. After that, went into this 1176. This here is a real popular setting for a vocal. So 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock down here, all the way fast on release, all the way medium, kind of medium on attack. And this thing's getting hit pretty hard, but it's not. You kind of have to hit these a little bit harder than some in order to get it to do what it does, which in my opinion is add a lot of color. And then behind that, I put this LA2A just to kind of control the transients. It's not doing a whole lot, but what I noticed is that when this is engaged, it's catching. This is actually catching and controlling a lot of the S's. So, and it's adding a lot of grit. So, last chain here is 1073 based. So, this chain right here is mainly the Tube Tech is doing the heavy lifting. That one, it's a Vox box. That one, it's the SSL and the 1176. This thing right here is this last one is set up on using a 1073. The way you use one of these is the very first thing you do. You take it from its starting position at Unity and then roll that thing back about 2 or 3 clicks, and that'll add a ridiculous amount of grit and saturation. It's a really likable, usable saturation, in my opinion. Next plug-in here was I went to a transient designer next on this one. I'll show you what this does. It just kind of smooths out the... Come on, I'm trying to get this thing to focus. There it goes. I'll show you. As you roll it this way, that brings the tops of the transients out. Roll it back, it kind of calms stuff down and settles it down and lets it sit better in the mix. There's nothing... I just really move this thing around until I just fiddle with it by ear. It only takes a couple seconds to dial in if you know what's going on here. I usually leave this thing to 100% wet unless there's a good reason to not do that. From there, I went to a distressor. I tried the optical settings, which is 10 and 0 at first, and I wasn't digging it. So I went, kind of had made this thing sort of mimic what was going on in the 1176 because I liked what was happening in the 1176. Medium attack, fast release. Again, just like that guy, medium attack, fast release. If it worked for here, the distressor is somewhat similar to the 1176 and how it's built and how it operates. So I tried this distortion here. It wasn't doing. It was just really getting in the way. And then from there, I went to this. What is that? Yeah, it's a Pultec. And come on, phone. Boosted 12K. All this is doing is adding air. I tried the Millennia again, and this just did a better job at adding a kind of a soft, nice silkiness to this 1073 right here. For some reason, this distressor on this particular vocal, this Pultec on this particular vocal played a little bit nicer with the 1073 than this Millennia played with that 1073. And then last in the chain here is Shadow Hills compressor. The reason I put this one with it was because this is one of the most transparent compressors that I've ever been able to find. It's just really doesn't, it's completely invisible. And without it, what was happening was I was hearing a lot of the sibilance sort of pokes out. Engage that thing. It's maybe not controlling the S's, but it's bringing everything else around those S's up. And then there's 2 sections to this compressor. That part right there, I can't. Okay. This chunk up here is an optical is like one compressor, and then this chunk down here is another compressor. I turned off this top half and just worked with that bottom half because, again, mainly for clarity. So anyway, last thing really quick, that guitar is, sold that guitar. Okay. This guitar is the nylon string guitar, 1073. Used a curve bender here. This is really good for broad, sweeping. It's like non-surgical, and it's really good for broad sweeping stuff. This into Varimu again because it's real clear, and then Clariphonic to get a little bit more of the top of the guitar out. And then this thing here is something, it takes a mono source and divides the frequencies by bandwidth and then splits them left and right. So it's real good for taking a mono source and making it sound stereo without introducing all kinds of phasing issues. You can take this thing and then, like over here on the, I can't reach my Crane song right now, but one of the things I love about this guy right here is when you play a mono source and then collapse it to stereo, you never lose energy because of phase cancellation. And then, I know this sounds very different than the original track, but I stuck this, Eventide processor on the guitar just to give it some kind of spaciness, and yeah, that's it.